All right. Hey, you guys. I just wanted to talk about how when I was teaching myself how to read, how I went from yes, no readings to past, present, and future readings. So we already talked about um, a single card, yes, no, black for no, red for yes. And this is before we get into numbers, suits, face cards, anything. Any of that. Any of that. Are we going out dancing tonight? Yes. Okay. And if that's where you want to stay, go on out dancing, have a great time. You know what I'm saying? The 10 is a wonderful way to categorize an evening. But let's say you didn't want to go out dancing. Okay, pull another card, looking for a no. Looking for a no. Now I've got two cards. Okay, I've got a yes and a no. And this is, oh, that's not it's a brand new deck, you guys. Brand new deck. And so now I've got the no that I was looking for. I got that Queen of Spades. Okay, so I've got one heart, yes. I've got a spade and a club for no. I don't have to go out dancing. I can stay home. Okay, and I can also look at this as a topic. This is the situation, going out dancing. Okay. And then I personally, when I first started, I would just kind of look at the cards and see what they had to say. And that's when I started honing my own personal intuition in the situation. And so, like, in search of my preference, in a way to decide how I wanted to go about my day, I would consult the cards to see what they would have to say. And when all I had was yes and no, I expanded on things in this way. And so, to be honest, I would have to sit here and say, okay, I pulled a yes no. I didn't like the yes. I pulled until there was a no. Right? So now I have to give the universe a chance to turn what I wanted selfishly back into the actual guidance that they perhaps had to offer me. So then you start going from a 3-card yes no to a 5-card yes no. Then I got another no, and then there's a yes. So I ended up winning, right? There's 2 yeses and 5 nos. So from the 5 card, I started noticing that the topic would always show up. The topic card starts because I get into a question, I get into a yes no that I don't like. So now I'm pulling more cards for one situation that created a topic card for me on my tables when I was first starting just reading for myself. And so I think in practicing just reading for yourself, a lot of us are wondering, how do you start? How do you begin? Okay, get a system you like and pick one card, right? And I did yes nos. If I liked yes nos, yes no 3-card. I thought that was a really good way to do things. I've described why I did that, and it brought me to having a topic card for the situation. Okay, the 4. And then I would just start drawing 2 more to see what the intuitive guidance might be. The Ace of Spades, the Joker. So now I know, from having a system, from having a rule book, I can look at this and break this down and say 4 is foundational or instability. Foundational stability or instability. And you're saying the 4 of diamonds and your money, space, your fiscal resources. Okay, so this is about stability and resources. And then we've got the Ace of Spades. Okay. And it looks like she's upside down. I do inversions on my table, so this is a great card. It speaks about a new beginning in your fiscal stability. Okay, but with this system, the transfer of suits is very important. Categorize. the cards' interactive nature, right? So if we have diamonds to spades, that typically speaks of a energetic blockage or money problems that are manifesting in regards to our stability there, or like our core fiscal. Oh, that's not fun because now we're talking about my job again. No, my core fiscal resource is my profession, right? It was my 9 to 5. And there's this new beginning that is putting a hurting on my 9 to 5. And the wild card here is in the future, is what's fixing it. So when your yes knows start telling a story, whether you get your guidance purely from your own intuition, or whether you get your guidance and your meanings and your reasonings from a book, from an established system, from an established lineage, I feel as though you, as long as you consistently follow those same rules, and if you modify your system, if you change rules, that's fine. But if you want, I feel like the intuitive guidance can show up in strange idiosyncrasies and synchronicities and coincidences very easily if you have a structured way that you go about things. And so I also feel like the relationship that you have with your deck is something that you can establish over time as you find coincidences and synchronicities befalling you while you're attempting to practice a consistent thing. So if I do 3 cards all the time, do the same thing all the time, if you want to train your intuition, right, what is different each time? And how do you interact with that? And do you ask yourself, is this a coincidence, or do you already know? What do you already believe? And then it boils back down to prefer or not prefer your experiences. So if I was to take this reading about my money, I would say that this new beginning will be categorized by the actions or decisions that I make this evening or over the next week. And that's how I do a 3-card reading. And it came from yes no's. You know, should I go out dancing? Yes. I don't want to. Okay. Draw more cards to try to force the deck to do what I want it to. And when it doesn't, you have the opportunity to learn from that, because now it has its own identity. It doesn't just do whatever you want it to. There's another card in here that doesn't have a number on it. A little blank card. Most decks come with these 2 cards, and they're not for playing, they're like for decoration. And so I like to leave them on the side of the deck. When the deck is open, I have them face up. When the deck is closed, I'm shuffling it. I do a wash. I flip them over. That's just something that I've always done. I don't know why. It just makes sense to me. And so some of my first intuitive nudges were things like that. And so I always put these, and I put these on my deck, like I'll close my deck like this before I put it back in its case. I feel like that preserves its energetic connection. But why? I don't know why. That's just what I felt, right? And this is a matter of intuition, intuitive guidance. So I now use a system. And so I don't have to just look at the card and wonder what it means, because I developed a system. Or from experience, I have rules that make things more comfortable for me. And I think that's the basis of a system. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do things, as long as you're being honest, right? Because and then you're not switching up how things work, what things mean, because the cards will show themselves to you over and over and over and over. Okay, and it's up to you to see what's similar about those moments. But I went from single card yes no to 3-card yes no, because I didn't like the outcome, right? No, I wanted a yes. I draw another. Okay. All right, there's my yes, but outnumbered. Okay, okay. Can I get it? Oh, baby. Hold on. One more. Ooh. Didn't make it. Okay, so I'm not buying that motorcycle. Okay. I'm going to put my money in, certified deposits. And that's how I started with the Cartomancy line of 5, was in 5 card yes nos, 3 card yes nos. And then there's a whole other world once you start pulling more cards. So, that topic card comes up, and then you have expansions on that, And so you can pull as many expansions on a topic card as you want to, and you can just look at that, and you can do it intuitively and see what it feels like to you. Okay, and that can help guide you to decide what you do want or what you don't want, or decisions that you need to make for yourself. Okay, and that's a great way to use the cards. Okay, that's how I started using the cards, and it worked out for me really, really well. All right, I made a lot of wonderful friends. I stayed safe in a dangerous environment. Okay, and I was able to thrive, in a survival situation. And that's why I practice devoutly now, because I made it through some very hard times with just these cards and my intuitive guidance. I just before I had a box full of magic cards, okay, just a poker deck. If I go out, will I make it home safely? I want to stay in tonight. That's a bad story right there.